A recent jobs and skills report found that the country faces significant challenges regarding a shortage of skills, including in digital literacy. Well, joining me live is Siobhan Casey, Australian Computer Society Chief Growth Officer. Thanks so much for joining us. So a lot to get through, but first of all, what skills will Australians need in the future?
Well, it's very complex. Let me just start with a few things. So obviously, there's few problems in the labour market that are more significant right now than the digital skills, which you've raised. 3 in 5 organisations believe their workforces have outdated skills. And of course, the issues of this is multifaceted, but chief among them is the education system and I suppose a reliance from employers on the roles of people rather than the skills that they need. And when we look at the tech workforce, last year our research shows it grew by 58,000 workers, so a 6.6% increase, and that's 70% faster than the overall workforce. And that pace of change is outstripping these approaches we've been using to upskill people. And I'll just give you an example, the generative AI, which we've all had a bit of fun with, putting in some odd questions. But when you look at the adoption rate of that technology compared to other household names, and the adoption rate is measured on 100 million users. It took only 2 months for people to get to 100 million users on Gen AI or ChatGPT. TikTok, for instance, 9 months, Facebook 4.5 years, and Netflix, household name, 10 years. So it's that rapid rate of adoption of new technology, and particularly at the employee level with generative AI, that is causing a lot of disruption. So that rapid rate of change is blurring the line between traditional concepts of tech workforces or tech functions, and really tech skills are an integral part of every function across the business, would be our advocacy. But sort of the new roles, certain roles that you'll hear coming up in the coming sort of 5-7 years, AI ethicists, AI personality designers, virtual world safety officers, so safety officers in the virtual realm, quantum data analysts, and human-computer integration specialists. So there's a whole range of new roles. And just prior to coming on to the call, we're just talking about that notion that net increase in jobs because of these disruptive critical technologies. So we're not concerned about people losing roles in net, but they do need to get reskilled.
And when you talk about reskilling and these new jobs that are available, where do people study? Where can people start looking to find if they are interested and capable?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. Look, I think it's actually a broader issue because because of the rapid rate of change, we're not fully clear on what some of these opportunities are. Of course, if it's an incremental change and looking to get a certification or a credential, that's fairly straightforward. There's a great TAFE in New South Wales, the Digital Technologies Institute out at, not Meadowbank, but out southwest. But I think it's a more multifaceted issue that we need to solve. It requires all hands on deck. It requires not just one business, not just one state government or the federal government. It requires everyone working together. And the New South Wales Skills Board has worked really collaboratively recently with a number of partners, 30 partners, and the New South Wales government, particularly on this matter, which will be launched in government later this month. We need to think about skills first rather than roles. So every role, tech is ubiquitous and we all need to be skilled. And I think we need to really unpack that diversity component. Gender balance in tech is not where it should be. And people from all different cultural backgrounds, particularly the skilled migrants we attract to Australia for education and work, need to be given the opportunity to get into the sector and to work.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. And as you said before, how fast it's moving. And what else do you think needs to be done to really make that sharp pivot by the sounds of it? And what policy outcomes are going to be needed?
Yeah, look, I think the great work that's been kicked off in New South Wales is really inspiring. And as one of the biggest states, of course, with tech workers, hopefully to trickle that around the rest of the country and have momentum. But obviously a national digital skills strategy would be ideal. I think looking at what is already working around the country and then looking at opportunities to scale that nationally would be obviously a straightforward opportunity. But the strategy should emphasise a digital-first approach to all other government policies as well. And just generally in migration, I think having digital skills underpinning our thinking on who we bring in and attract to our country should also be a critical thought.
Yeah, it's fascinating. What do you think in terms of roles does the private sector play versus the government?
Yeah, look, I think, as I said before, it's a all hands on deck. We're calling to arms for everybody to be a participant. And when I think about government, as I've said before, we need to collaborate. But I'm sort of reflective of, and I have children in high school, and in 2009 we introduced the first laptops into secondary schools in New South Wales. But my daughters are still selecting electives that are tech subjects, and they're not core subjects. So I think there's a bit of work to be done in relation to catching up on that and ensuring that tech is a mandatory educational component. When it comes to the private sector, I think it's important that it is a collective issue, and we all need to get on board with solving it. And that could be as simple as we're advocating at ACS for a national technology career mentoring program, and those that work in the tech sector could be well positioned to support those sorts of initiatives and others that are called upon to help encourage diversity in particularly younger children to consider a future in tech. Many of us didn't start in a tech qualification. I personally don't have a tech qualification, but I've been in the tech game for 20 years. So helping others transition across as well, I think, is a critical component.
No doubt many people are very excited about what you're talking about. On the flip side, there will probably be, people that are concerned and fearful of what the future holds. What would you say to those people?
Look, I've found myself sort of walking around in the last few months sort of saying the words, if you're not trained in tech, you'll end up working in tech or with tech. It's just so ubiquitous, and it's in everything we do. And I suppose in every part of the employment workforce, we're touching some form of technology. That is only going to increase. Don't be fearful of it. Jump in and try and develop your skills. Be a bit curious. There are multiple different opportunities available to people, and I think with the collective efforts of government, educators, industry bodies, employers, we will start to have more informed views on what pathways to follow and what skills to consider learning. But it's an environment which is really exciting, and to jump on board and get involved. We'll have more jobs. That's not the issue. It's more around evolving your own skills to be ready for those opportunities.
Sounds absolutely fascinating. Great chat. Thank you so much, Siobhan Casey, Australian Computer Society Chief Growth Officer. Talk to you again soon.
Thank you.